Welcome back, everybody. I'm Sassy Pants, wife to Matty the rancher, and I'll be your storyteller today. Welcome to Adventures with Sodak Pete, stories that celebrate the hard work, big hearts, and wide open spaces of ranch life. Out here, every day's an adventure, and we hope each and every one of you listening can imagine yourself as little Sodak Pete, learning the ropes, getting your hands a little dirty, and helping out where it counts. So grab your boots, tip your hat, and let's see what today's adventure has in store. Sodak Pete, bees and honey on the ranch. The sun came up over the hills. Sodak Pete was already dressed and he was grinning real big. Millie stretched and gave her tail a wag. Off they went, ready to start the day. "Hold up, you two," I called. "Come fill those bellies before you head outside." Pete slid into his chair. Matty handed him some eggs, bacon, and a fluffy biscuit. Millie sat politely. Pete slipped her a bite under the table. "Best start to a day," Matty said, sipping his coffee, "is good food and good company." After breakfast, Pete and Millie headed outside. Pete checked the newly planted flowers on the porch. "Grow strong," he told them, and Millie sniffed every pot. A bee flew by. Looks like he's got chores to do too," Pete said. Out by the clubhouse, I was working on the rhubarb. "Want to help?" I asked. Pete grabbed a trowel, he trimmed leaves, and he pulled weeds. Millie watched from the shade. "This rhubarb is wild," Pete laughed. I said, "It just needs a little love." Pete stood still. "Do you hear that?" he asked. It wasn't the wind or a cow. It was more like a hum. Millie perked up her ears. "Let's go see," Pete said. Down by the creek pasture, Pete saw white boxes, and bees were buzzing all around them. "They're back," Pete said. The beekeeper had set the hives up by the sweet clover again. Millie stayed close, but she kept her paws back. Smart girl. The bees love our ranch. Sweet clover, alfalfa, wildflowers, and lots of sunshine. That's how they make light, yummy honey. "All that buzzin's making something good, I'm sure of it," Pete said. "Nothing better than honey made in South Dakota sweet clover," I told him. Matty met us in the far pasture. "See those bees?" he asked. "They each have a job." He showed Pete how bees carry nectar to the hive. "They're little workers," Pete said. Matty smiled. "Just like you." Matty helped Pete put on a little white bee suit. It had long sleeves and a net hood. "You look like a marshmallow," I laughed. Pete tried to scratch his nose. "I can't reach," he said. "Well, then it's working," Matty grinned. The beekeeper waved Pete over. He lifted a wooden frame from the hives. Honey shone inside like gold. Bees buzzed gently, not mad. They were just busy. "They're making honey," Pete whispered. Millie sat nearby, watching close. The beekeeper handed Pete a bit of honeycomb. Pete took a bite. His eyes lit up. "Wow, that's sweeter than pie." "That's South Dakota honey," Matty said, "from clover, alfalfa, and sunshine." Millie barked. Seemed like she wanted some too. As we walked back, Pete looked around. "Bees help plants grow," he said. "They sure do," I nodded. "Flowers, fruits, veggies, even food for the cows." Pete smiled. "Bees don't just make honey, they make everything better. The good Lord made them just right." Pete had an idea. "Let's plant some flowers for the bees." So he grabbed some wildflowers and went over by his clubhouse. Pete dug the holes and Pete planted the flowers. Millie sniffed each one. "We'll call it the bee garden," Pete said. With the work done, Pete and Millie tootled around. They checked the salt blocks, they chased a butterfly, Pete found a funny-looking stick, and Millie even rolled in something stinky. It was a perfect kind of ranch afternoon. As the sun set, Pete and Millie came back to the porch. Matty was relaxing with some iced tea. Pete sat down, dusty and happy. "I had a great day," he told Matty. "Bees are really cool." And we all sat quiet for a while, listening to the crickets tune up for their night singing and thanking the good Lord for this sweet life. If you hear a hum out in the clover, stop and listen. You might find a little ranch boy in a big straw hat smiling and thanking a bee. Thanks for riding along with us. Sodak Pete hopes you'll join us on our next adventure.